What's up? What's up? Happy Monday. Beautiful day out today. I've been in the office all day, but such is life. All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about something I think is very important. I talk about it a lot, and I was thinking about it, and I realized that a lot of you really don't know much about it, right? And I think it's one of the most important creations of our time, right? And it's called Bitcoin. So, what is Bitcoin? So, how much time you got? So, in 4 words, all right, Bitcoin is a digital store of value. There's a lot of other things that it can do, that it does, that it has, and we can get into that. And I probably will start doing these every week. But in its most basic nutshell, Bitcoin is a digital store of value. So, what does that mean? What is a store of value? Okay. So a store of value is something that, it's an asset, a commodity, a currency that can be saved, retrieved, exchanged, something that you can hold on to. And whatever it's worth today, it'll be worth more or the same or hold its value in the future. And, what are some examples? Okay. So when we talk about a store of value, the one we talk that everyone thinks of is gold, right? Gold is something that will always be desirable. You can buy it. It should generally hold its value or go up over time. Currencies are another example, but we talk about inflation and how that influences that. Okay, luxury watches, right? So things that are scarce, that are desirable properties, right? Real estate's a great example. Fine wines, art, T-bonds, right? Government bonds. Okay. Those are all stores of value. Okay. So that's what Bitcoin is. It's a digital version of that. But Bitcoin has some very unique principles to it that none of these things have. All right. So, number one, it's decentralized. Okay. So, what does that mean? What does decentralization mean? Well, much of what we think of today is centralized finance. Okay. So people say, oh, Bitcoin is just digital currency. It's just like Cash App or or PayPal. Right. So think about it. When we send money on Cash App, which you guys can Cash App me, I'll throw my cash tag down there. But when we think of Cash App or PayPal or Venmo, we're sending this digital money. What we don't think about is it goes through one centralized place, right? You give money on GoFundMe, it goes to GoFundMe before it goes to the people that you're giving it to. All right, you put your money in the bank, you want to go withdraw, it goes to this centralized institution. There's been examples where these types of companies have shut down a transaction because they didn't like what it was for. GoFundMe, do some research. How many GoFundMe things has GoFundMe said, no, we don't want to be a part of this. You can't raise money for that. And they send it back. So that's the centralization factor. So Bitcoin is decentralized. It doesn't have that feature. Nobody controls it. All right. And then when we talked about last week, we talked about inflation. Well, Bitcoin, another unique property is its scarcity, right? So it is scarce. It's deflationary, in fact, and it's on a fixed supply schedule. So what does that mean? There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. No more. There's no way, it's impossible to create more than 21 million Bitcoin. Okay. And out to the year 2140, the way the network and the code is designed, it's going to add every 4 years, the amount that's created is cut in half. And you can see on this chart, the blue line is the overall supply of Bitcoin. And you see how it just kind of levels off and barely moves. And this is the issuance. So it's deflationary, right? Every 4 years, less and less is issued. Kind of the opposite of cash. The US dollar. If you watch my video from last week about inflation, you'll see that this is the exact opposite. So again, what makes it a store of value? It's scarce, right? Next, divisibility. Okay, so people see one Bitcoin is $28,000. Bitcoin is divisible 100 million ways. Okay, so if one Bitcoin is 28,000, 0.000001 Bitcoin, one Satoshi, I'm sorry, yeah, 0.00001 Bitcoin, which is one Satoshi, is less than a penny. So when we talk about, you think around the world and you think about, different countries and different levels of wealth, Bitcoin is completely democratized and accessible because it's infinitely divisible and it all happens digitally. Okay. Try to divide gold up when you need to. All right, next, it's a distributed ledger. So like we said, there's no centralized clearinghouse, right? So the network is completely controlled by the nodes that run it. And no one really knows how many there are, 10,000, 100,000, but there's copies of the network, all right? I mean, copies of the ledger distributed throughout the network. So in order for a transaction to go through, two copies have to agree. And then depending on how much you want, right? And it has to be, they all have to agree. So there's no way to cheat it. You can't change the ledger, right? You can't, like we said before, where we talk about centralized networks, where there's one point of control, Bitcoin by design doesn't have that. And we'll explain why at the end, okay? So how do transactions settle? Well, they settle rapidly and cannot be reversed. That's the other thing. Again, GoFundMe. I send money to some cause that I believe in, and I think it's all set. GoFundMe says, oh, no, don't agree with that. Send it back, right? Cash App, same thing. Oh, we don't like you. Send it back. Why? Who knows? Bitcoin doesn't have that, right? So, you send money through the regular financial system, it could take 2 to 4 business days. Bitcoin within the hour, 10 minutes to 60 minutes, it's peer-to-peer. There is no central thing. And once it's sent, it can never come back, right? And finally, the thing about Bitcoin is its portability, right? Because it's digital and it doesn't exist in a physical form, if you can commit the password to memory, you could literally take your Bitcoin anywhere in the world. So think about that. Like people from war-torn countries, people that live in these places that everything is just gone to it. It's just gone. Everything's destroyed. You could literally take your wealth, put it in your head, go anywhere in the world and recreate that wealth by typing in a password on the appropriate device. Bam, you got all your wealth. Do that with your real estate. Do that with your gold. Look through history, how gold has been confiscated through wars. Okay, look at World War II and what the Nazis did with the gold. Okay, it's just, so Bitcoin's portable. So for a digital store of value, it has all these features that just never were possible with traditional stores of value. All right, so Bitcoin was created in 2008. And where we are now was kind of similar to what happened back then. It was created as decentralized, uncontrollable, unstoppable. Why do you think it has those features? Think about what happened in 2008. And on the first entry on the Bitcoin ledger in 2009, they put this headline from the Times of London: Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. So it was kind of like a to the government, right? So I like that part of it, right? But when you study its design, so I think if you just take a little bit of time and you understand all these features that Bitcoin has and how it's a digital store of value for the digital world that we live in, I think you'll start to see it makes a very compelling value proposition. And the last thing anyone needs to know about Bitcoin is no one knows who created it. Okay, so it's all attributed to Satoshi Nakamoto. That's a name that was used on message boards by the creator. Could have been a person, a group of persons, a man, a woman, could have been the CIA. Who knows? Nobody knows who created it. And I think that's also a thing that kind of gives it kind of like this real sense of a store of value. Like there's no CEO of gold. Right? There's no CEO of, I don't know, I guess some of the watches do and stuff, but you know what I mean? Like there's no but Bitcoin, there's nobody, right? It's just the network. It's the people that run the network. It's power in the hands of the people, right? And it transcends borders. It transcends governments. It transcends countries. You could take it anywhere in the world. It's easy to store, and to me, it's the most compelling thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. So this is a very basic, light introduction to it. We'll get into some more over time, right? We'll do some myth busting. We'll talk about a little more technical things to it. But I think everyone should take a little bit of time, try to understand what it is, and really make their own conclusions to it. It's not a get rich quick thing. It's none of that. So I don't even really call it a currency. I look at it purely as a digital store of value. All right, guys. Hopefully you learned something today. Enjoy the rest of this day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.